Welcome to the Fire and Favor podcast, where we talk about God's fire
and favor
in our lives. This is session 2, and we're going to be talking and continuing the Beatitudes. We talked about the first Beatitude, blessed are the poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. We're going to talk about the last 7, I believe it is. The mourning spirit, the meek, the hungering for righteousness, the purity of heart, the peacemakers on the earth, the ones who are blessed for persecution and inherit the kingdom of God, things like that. It is a juicy one on deck for us. We're so excited to be here. I've heard, just jumping right in, I remember hearing Mike Bickle talk about the Beatitudes, and I remember him saying that he called these 8 Beatitudes like flowers in our own souls, our own interior gardens. They were like flowers. They were like seeds that were planted that sprung up from the soil and turned into these beautiful flowers. Each one their own unique, distinct flower, tulip, rose, whatever you want to picture, inside of your own heart. And if planted, watered, and everything goes well, they mature into beautiful flowers. That's the picture for these 8 Beatitudes. I love that imagery.
Yeah.
It just gives me a new thirst to want these and to want these in my own soul and say, I want these beautiful flowers in my heart as a man. And it's like, that's a really interesting and cool picture, I thought, and welcome.
Yeah. And if you joined with us last week, we gave an overview of the Sermon on the Mount. And then we hit on the first Beatitude, which is blessed are the poor in spirit. And we talked about how humility is entrance into the kingdom. And it's amazing that Jesus, in this technically the first sermon he ever wrote, the first thing out of the gate he says is, be humble. If you want to get any of this, be humble.
Oh.
So I love that. And I'm excited. What do you think about this second one, Keegan?
Yeah, so the second Beatitude is, blessed are those who mourn, for they shall be comforted.
Yeah.
I think of a spiritual mourning. You can read that, and I believe you can find comfort in a physical mourning. There's many other verses for that. I believe that's maybe not the main teaching right there. I believe it's a spiritual mourning, just like some of these other Beatitudes. It's when you look at it, for example, we looked at this last week. You just can't get away from it. Blessed are the poor in spirit. That isn't necessarily, Jesus isn't saying, blessed are the poor of the earth.
Yeah.
Of course, he's not saying, blessed are those who have poverty, go live in poverty.
Yeah.
He's not saying blessed are the poor in finances, but blessed are the poor in spirit.
Yes.
Big difference there. And so I believe this is similar. Blessed are those who mourn, for they shall be comforted. I believe he is maybe thinking of those who have mourning and grieving, things like that. But I believe it's even deeper. It's a spiritual mourning where we are longing. There's the verse that Jesus talks about, the people come up to him, the Pharisees, whoever, if you know the reference, and they say, why is John the Baptist and all them fasting and everyone else fast, but your disciples don't fast? And his answer is, how can you
mourn when you're with the bridegroom?
Yes. You don't mourn when the bridegroom's in the land, essentially.
Exactly.
I gotta look at that verse. It's essentially. But when the bridegroom's taken out of the land, in those days you will mourn and fast.
Yes.
And so I believe he's thinking of that time when he's speaking his very first sermon, his very first public message, arguably the greatest sermon ever preached. We hit on it last week. In his second sentence, I believe, is hitting on the church throughout history, the centuries to come, that they will be mourning and longing for him to come back to the earth, his second advent. I believe he's really saying, hey, the church will be mourning for me, my presence, and to be joined together, heaven and earth, God and man, once again.
Yes.
And that is the mourning. It's a mourning spirit where we say, Jesus, we long for you. I think of the John Thurlow song. It's basically this verse and that other verse in a song. I love how John does that. He takes these passages and he just sings these like verbatim.
Yeah.
Just sings the songs. And the John Thurlow song, he starts singing, what is it?
There is coming a day. That one?
Yes.
When the bridegroom is taken away, and in that day they will mourn.
Yeah.
In that day they will find.
That's exactly right.
They will say things as they are not okay. When someone is missing, someone is absent. I wanted to touch on
That's
that.
it right there.
Mourning is the realization that there's more and we're not there. There's more of Jesus and we don't have him with us.
That's right.
It's the realization of, actually, my life is not okay.
Yes.
I don't want to continue living on this world and storing up wealth and favor for this world. I want to be with Jesus. That's the mourning. It's you realize the depravity of your soul. You realize I should be over there and I'm here. Wow. It's that longing for Jesus, but then it's also the mourning in our own lives where we step back and we say, wow, God, I don't have this written on my soul like I should. I'm not living the way I should. I'm not loving you the way I should. And I'm sad about it.
Yes.
You know, like when people passed away in the Bible times, people would fast and mourn and cry and weep for weeks. It was a long thing. And if you've ever lost someone near to you, you don't want to eat. So it's just interesting that the fasting is actually a desire for more of God. And so I think that's a good entrance point into hungering for God. I know the next one is blessed are the meek, for they will inherit the earth.
Yeah, do you have anything you want to say on that?
On the meek or the hungering for God?
Either one, honey.
I will touch on the meek just so we should probably stay in order, even though it's very tempting.
I love the blessed are the meek. Nice try trying to skip it. I love the hungering one too, but the word meek is such an interesting word.
Yeah.
Meek, it's one of those words where I'm pretty sure I don't think I heard it in 18 years of my life. My first 18 years, I don't think I ever heard the word meek in my life. It just wasn't in our vocabulary. It wasn't in my culture. And then I started reading the Bible. I'm like, and hearing it in the church and Christian, like, well, what is meek? Is it kind of like weak, or is it like a synonym to, like, I didn't know what it was. Well, meek, sure enough, is actually not weakness, but it's actually using your power to serve others. Yes. Using your resources, things God's given you, and thinking of others. It's a mindset also. Yeah. It's putting others in front of yourself. It's thinking of others more highly than you're thinking of yourself. It's similar to humility, but it's more practical maybe. It's hey, I'm going to use these things in a humble way and maybe go help someone. If you don't have any money, you might have some arm strength, and you'll help them move into their apartment. If you don't have, whatever it may be. And blessed are the meek, for they shall inherit the earth. So Jesus not only connects, like, using what you have, your resources, your strengths here on the earth, finances, I think of cars, I think of any resources, using it for the kingdom, you'll inherit the earth. Yeah. That could mean many, many things in the new age, in the millennial, where now we have all these other resources at our disposal, eternal things that are incorruptible, raw, moths and rust cannot destroy. Now we have resources that are eternal, and now we have things that we maybe, we can't even dream of. It's that verse that minds have not ever thought, eyes have not perceived. You can't even imagine the thing God has prepared for us. Yeah. And so we, those resources, that's what it means. I believe part of what it means, you shall inherit the earth, ruling and reigning with Christ on the earth.
This is kind of a new idea for me, but when I was thinking about meekness, not only, like you were saying, is it you have power and you're not using it, but meekness is also when you've been wronged, when you deserve justice, when there's evil people around you, they're prospering in their way, and it's a quiet trust in God, saying, Jesus, the scepter of your kingdom is a scepter of righteousness and justice, and you will bring me justice. Oh. And I'm not going to speak up for myself. That's something that Jesus did in court before the Sanhedrin. He didn't say anything. That is true meekness, because he was even being wrongly accused and falsely accused, but he refused to even defend himself. And so just that meek spirit is, God is my defender.
Yeah.
And God says, you know what? Because you laid down your life, I'm going to give you the kingdom. Because you know that I don't want to rule. I don't want people ruling my kingdom who try to defend themselves, who try to figure it out themselves, but people who lay it down and say, God, you are my everything. You are the just judge. I give it to you. It reminds me of actually my favorite passage, Psalms 37. I'll just read maybe one verse from there. That's a good verse. It says, Psalms 37:7. This is what I think of when I think of meekness. Be still before the Lord and wait patiently for him. Do not fret when people succeed in their way or when they carry out their wicked schemes. Refrain from anger and turn from wrath. Do not fret. It only leads to evil. For those who are evil will be destroyed, but those who hope in the Lord will inherit the land.
Oh.
Those who hope in the Lord will be given the kingdom.
Yes.
So that was just a nice little reference that I was thinking of today.
I love that. Hey, listen, this is real talk.
Yeah.
This is real life. As Gracie's reading this and I'm listening, I'm going, I just feel fired up inside my spirit. And I'm going, this is Christianity. This is real life. This is living. Livin. This is living at its finest. This is the nitty gritty. Get down to it. What do we do? How do we live our lives? You can hear messages. You can go to church. You can be raised in a great home. You can have all sorts of success, accomplishments, whatever it may be. This is living. And I cannot emphasize that enough. The joy, the beauty of the flower within each one of these Beatitudes that can be developed and grown inside of your own heart and your own soul. It is available to us. You know, last week I mentioned that the charismatic Christians often, you can sometimes just get in different church and different Christian settings and denominations. You can get a little just hyper spiritual and do and get and not really focus on that internal life. And that's where the Sermon on the Mount comes in. That's what the Sermon on the Mount's all about. It's it's your thought life, your emotional life, your internal soul. It's a whole new level, baby. And so I wanted to mention this week, Gracie and I talked about this, that it's not just now living. There's another whole camp, and there's people in Christianity and another whole group where people now just live internally. They just live studying the Word by themselves, which is priceless, amazing. The most noble things to do is study God's Word. Read the Bible. Didn't Mike Bickle say that once or something like that?
The greatest gift you can give someone, he said, to study the Bible, but then to give them the revelation that God gives you.
Exactly. But the greatest gift you can give other people is you yourself studying the Bible.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Essentially, yeah.
Essentially.
Yeah.
Because I'm sure the more you study it, the overflow is going to happen.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
So what I felt like, there might be, you don't want to just get lost alone with God. They're
on an island.
On an island, exactly. Community is very important. Friendships, brotherhood, sisterhood, community. The book of Acts, that we can get so caught up in the miracles, signs, and ministry and doing. And the book of Acts, a lot of it was community oriented, house to house, breaking of bread, fellowship. That's really Christianity. That's what Jesus and his ministry, a lot of it was with the disciples. And so, it's also it's having that tension and not just forsaking the duties of a Christian, and even outwardly of healing the sick, casting out demons, raising the dead, preaching the good news, teaching all things, teaching the nations, things like that. And just say, I just read my Bible in my room, which is amazing. That's a lot of my story. I'll share my story some other time. It's just me reading my Bible in my room.
Yeah.
So I love that. But I just had to mention, just for my own heart's sake, really, to be one who just holds that tension.
Yeah.
I don't want to just be in here. I don't want to just be out there. I want to have a deep interior, rich life with God. I want to study the Bible, and I want to do acts of justice.
Yeah, that's good.
And so blessed are those who hunger and thirst for righteousness, for they shall be filled.
Wow.
That's Matthew 5:6. Now that's one of my favorites.
Yeah.
I know she's itching, to get into this one. Let me just mention very quickly. This is a very special one to me. I remember someone preached. Corey Russell preached a message in 2013. One of the most powerful messages. Really marked my life. It was my first time going to Forerunner Church, the church at IHOP in Kansas City. I was, 19 or 20. 20 years old. 20 years old. I walked in. He was already preaching, and I listened to that sermon. It was one of those ones where you listen to over and over through the next couple of years. I listened to that over and over and over and over again. It was so special to me. Just the hungering for God, the stories that he shared about revival and healing anointings, and the different gospel stories he shared. And it was all based out of this verse right here. Blessed are those who hunger and thirst for righteousness. And I began to pray the prayers that Corey was preaching. And he would say, I invite you to start praying this prayer. I invite you to start praying this over your own heart. And I really did that for years. I said, God, give me the gift of hunger. Make me a hungry man.
Yeah.
Slay me, God, with supernatural hunger for you, your kingdom. And I prayed that like a madman for years. And I believe he's given me the gift of hunger and thirst for righteousness. I'm so blessed. I'm being filled with righteousness. And so this is a special one to me. It's one of the first ones that really stuck out to me.
Yeah.
That I really went after and kind of dug into more and really mined a little more. It was the hungering for more of God, and which produces righteousness.
That's really deep, Keegan. Yeah. I love that. When I read this verse, I think of Isaiah 55. And that says, come to me. Come buy from me. Why would you spend money on things that don't satisfy, on bread that doesn't fill you, on all these things? And he's saying, I am the only thing that can fulfill you. I am the only thing that can satisfy you.
Yes.
Come to me, come to me. And I think it takes that awareness, right? That we're hungry, so therefore we got to go eat and get our fill. And so I love that that's a cry of your heart that you've prayed, because when we're hungry for God, we experience him. When we seek him, we find him. And we're not going to seek him if we're just sitting back happy and okay with where we're at. We should hunger for more of God.
That's right.
Not strive, but desire him, because there's so many facets of who he is. We have never reached the end of it. We have to constantly look and mine for the gold inside of him.
That's so good. The next one, or you got? Let's do the next one here. Maybe you hit on this one. Blessed are the merciful, for they shall obtain mercy. Now, we all love mercy. It's one of the greatest things. It's one of the first revelations or epiphanies you have as a Christian, the grace of God and the mercy of God. Pillars in Christianity, separating factors to all other religions.
Yeah.
Absolutely amazing. And now the call is for us to be merciful. We've all received the mercy of God. We love it. We have the verse on our wall. His mercies are new every morning in a painting.
Yeah.
Now we have the obligation, command, and privilege to show mercy. Wow.
Yeah, it's like that idea that he who has been forgiven much loves much, right? And so we have this when we understand how much we've been forgiven, when people wrong us, we are able to extend that love and forgiveness, because we say, you know what? You owe me nothing. This is a chorus from IHOP. You owe me nothing. I deserve hell.
You owe me nothing,
but you gave me mercy.
Yes.
And just how God, so rich in mercy. It says his mercies are new every morning. We're such a broken, fallen people. And he comes with just mercy. He just lavishes it on us every single day. And so how prideful we are to be offended at others, to hold it back when others wrong us, and to say, you know what, I'm not going to give them mercy. I'm not going to forgive them. And Jesus says, forgive them 1,000 times more. Hallelujah. He says, later on, he says, I desire mercy, not sacrifice.
Hallelujah.
The Israelites, they would come near to God, it said, with their sacrifices. They would give him their offerings, but their hearts were far from him. And they didn't long to know him in that way. They just would give him with their acts. And Jesus says, I desire mercy, not sacrifice. Stop giving me these offerings when your heart is far from me. Stop giving me these jewels and these gold when your heart wants nothing to do with me. I can see your heart, And so I'm always struck by that when he talks about that in Isaiah, and then also in the Gospels when God is like, no, I want your heart, And I think that's truly the core of mercy, is you're seeing people through God's lens, and he sees people at the heart, not through their worst season, not through their best season, not through their outward appearance, not through their family lineage, not through their finances, not through their job title. He sees their heart.
Yes. Hey, I was going to look up a verse. I feel the Lord, he says that his mercies are new every morning. Great is thy faithfulness, full of compassion. Lamentations 2:22 and 23. I believe that is being highlighted, and there's mercy right now available for people watching this. Those who need mercy, those who, like the rising of the sun, I just see right now mercy rising up over your own heart, over your own mind and soul. Even now, you're going to begin to see and feel lighter, feel the compassion of God, and be filled with the compassion of God. Just like the sun rises every morning and light breaks into the horizon and the sun rises, mercy is beginning to rise in your soul, and you're going to begin to feel the mercy of God, the delight of the Lord.
Yeah.
You might begin to cry or have tears. I think you'll feel his presence, whatever it may be for you. I just feel through the Spirit mercy that was highlighted, and it's an emerald rainbow. It's his infinite mercies. They are unending, and they're new every morning. It says in Micah 7:18, for the Lord delights in mercy. That means he delights in you right now.
Yeah.
That means he delights in showing you mercy right now. You may be struggling. You may have had a hard day, a hard week, a hard year, a hard life.
Yeah.
Right now, I even feel for the ones struggling right now, the last past day or week. He really delights in mercy, and he shows mercy to those who look to him, who ask. And so just ask him, look to him even now, and receive his mercy. For real, that's a real thing.
Yeah.
Those are some of my most famous prayers as a young believer, was those verses I just quoted. God, you delight in mercy. Your mercy is new every morning. Show me mercy. Fill me with mercy.
Yeah.
I want mercy. God, fill me with your compassion. I just connected the dots that I was going to overcome and live an overcoming life and have victory over a myriad of things that we deal with in our culture and in the generation we live in by God's grace and mercy. And so I just begin to pray, God, fill me with mercy.
Yeah.
Cause your delight to come over me. Let me feel your mercy. Pray those. I encourage you and invite you, just like Corey did, in his sermon, I invite you to pray those over your own heart. Pray those over your own soul. Pray that over your own family. God, show me your delight. Fill me with your delight and mercy. You delight in mercy, God. Give me mercy. Show me mercy. Fill me with mercy. Every morning, let me feel your mercy. As the sun rises every morning, let your mercy rise every morning upon my heart.
That's good.
That's what it says. His mercies are new every morning. There's new mercies available to us every morning. Just as light touches our body every day, if we go outside, or let mercy touch me every day.
Yeah.
Those are the prayers that I begin to pray for myself. We can move on. Not sorry, but
I just wanted to say, I think if we're struggling to forgive people, I think we need to ask God to remind us of what we've been forgiven. Because again, bless those who are merciful will receive mercy. That's a big deal.
Yeah.
And we need to know that we are broken people who God has forgive and cleansed by the blood of Jesus. And so I just invite you, if you have people in your mind or your heart that you have a hard time forgiving, I encourage you to ask God what he has forgiven you of.
Yes, that's so good. The next one is Matthew 5:8. Blessed are the pure in heart, for they shall see God. This one's very near and dear to my heart. I'll go off a little bit on this one. We have a club, the 5-8 Club.
Yeah.
Not Gracie and I, a friend of mine, David Munson and I have established a 5-8 Club, and it is a call to men to live in purity. It is a call to be pure in a perverse world. It is a call for men everywhere to live an overcoming life over lust, sexual immorality, and live in holiness and purity. And it's called the 5-8 Club, and it's based out of this right here. Blessed are the pure in heart, for they shall see God. You know, I love that because the promise is they shall see God. I'm like,
it's a big deal.
My new prayer this past how many months is, God, make me, Keegan Patrick Felstead, the most pure man on the earth. I have a long way to go, but that's my prayer, and I'm genuine. Make me the most pure. Why not? Why not? Make me the most pure man on the earth. Not just, in terms of sexuality, but it means so much.
And I want to touch on that.
So much more. It means so much more of just it. Well, it means so much more of just your motives. That's a big one. Your heart, your feelings, your thoughts when you're alone. What you think about towards someone when you just had an argument, or you just had something, or someone cut you off on the road. Your thoughts towards them. It's so much more a pure heart, pure motives, clean conscience, things like that, where you are living a pure life in your mind, your heart, and your actions. Of course, sexuality, but even more than that. There's so much more than that. And so that's why my prayer is that, God, make me the most pure man on the earth, because then I'm going to have great motives I'm going to see people through the lens of amazing. That's what I call it. I want to see people, friends, family, neighbors, strangers, enemies, through the lens of amazing. You are amazing. Why? Because you're made in the image of God. Imago Dei. You are made in the image of God. I see you how God sees you. You're amazing. I don't care what you just did. I don't care if you hurt me. I mean, I do. Let's be real.
But we've already been through that beatitude.
It hurts. Yeah, we've been through that one. The persecuted one?
The merciful.
Yeah, exactly. So, it's like, that's all I got.
Yeah, I love that you touched on the sexual purity one, and then seeing people through that lens. I think in this season of our lives, I've been touched again with, blessed are the pure in heart, for they shall see God. And for me, I'm coming into a new environment, a new church, a new ministry, a new place, with a lot of promises wrapped around it, a lot of prophetic stories. And I'm saying, God, help me to not see people by what they can give me. Help me to not see people by the path that I, can walk on to get to where I want to be. Help me to love them and to have a pure heart, whether it's the pastor or the spiritual leader in my life that I look up to, or a homeless person on the street, or a child that nobody really cares about, or a student that's not that cool and has no money and no friends. I want a pure heart because I want to see God.
Yes.
And I want to love people like you touched on. I want to love people.
Yeah.
And I can't do that.
Oh, I know you do. You do it great.
Thank you. I can't do that if my heart's not pure.
Yeah.
So.
Wow. We got 2 more. Maybe we'll hit them really quick.
Yeah.
Peacemakers and persecution.
I'll do peacemakers.
Great.
So, blessed are the peacemakers, for they shall be called children of God. Recently I've heard a teaching on this. And I always thought peacemakers would be someone who's very peaceful and just says kind of floats around and is like, I'm not going to fight right now. It's okay. I always thought that was a peacemaker. But actually that's a peacekeeper maybe. But a peacemaker is someone who says, you know what? That person you're talking about, we're going to go to them right now. You're going to tell me what you told them, or you're going to tell them what you told me, and we're going to work this out. It's coming between those uncomfortable relationships and saying, no, I don't want to gossip about this person. Let's make this right. Let's go to them. I have a dear friend. I really believe that a calling on her life is to be a peacemaker.
Oh, I know.
And she has, every week, she has hard conversations with people, calling them higher, or trying to help people work stuff out between people and in the church and outside of the church and in family and people that don't talk to each other, and trying to say, you know what, let's talk. Let's get together. And so I've just been provoked by that friendship of what a peacemaker looks like. It's getting in the dirty, yucky stuff that nobody wants and saying, let's go higher. Let's go deeper together.
Well, let's do it. Let's do it. Blessed are those who are persecuted for righteousness' sake, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. There it is again. So this last one, then he continues, blessed are you when they revile you and persecute you and say all kinds of evil against you falsely for my name's sake. Rejoice and be exceedingly glad, for great is your reward in heaven. For so they persecuted the prophets who were before you. Yeah. You know, he elaborates on this one quite a bit. He says to rejoice, blessed, happy, celebrated, things like that when you're persecuted. It's, again, the tension, the upside down kingdom, the wait a second, how? Would I think of Stephen in the book of Acts. I think of when they were stoning him, it says that he was filled with joy, saw heaven open. Didn't he see the Yeshua? Didn't he see the angel? And he saw Jesus, right? The face of Jesus. And then he died. And some people believe he didn't feel any pain. Some people did. Regardless, he was full of joy as they were stoning him, killing him, persecuting him, and he sees Jesus' face. And I'm sure there's countless of stories like that throughout history. I've read different books and stories of stuff like that happening in the underground church and throughout history. And it's just like, and that, I'm not saying that's going to happen every time, but God's grace is sufficient. There it is. There it is. Paul says God's grace is sufficient. His grace is sufficient even in persecution, even in, of course, hard times, trials, financial stuff, but in persecution, in hardships to your body, and even death. His grace is sufficient. There's the fullness of joy for those who abide in him. And it says it again right here, rejoice. Then it says be exceedingly glad. Yeah. And so really we just believe Yeshua. We believe the promise, and we do our best, and we pray to see through an eternal lens, an eternal perspective, to get a new, different view and landscape. Come up a little higher and see from his perspective. And life's but a moment, but a vapor, and we're with him forever. And so it's like, blessed are those who are persecuted. And I'm sure, as Jesus is thinking of this, he's longing, he's feeling all sorts of emotions, and it's for the kingdom's sake. Blessed are those who are persecuted for righteousness' sake. Yeah. It's for the kingdom, for the advancement of the gospel, the beauty of Jesus, the power of the Bible, the riches of the Bible, the glory of the heart of God, and things like that, to be persecuted for. You're like, well, okay, sign me up. And so final closing thoughts. We bless you guys. We love you. Thank you for digging into these Beatitudes, these things where the seeds, the flowers within us, and God's going to lavish these upon us as we go on a journey of discovering more and more of how to live a Christian life, a Sermon on the Mount lifestyle.